Looking back, I should have realized the divorce was only the beginning. You don't spend 23 years with someone and truly know who they are, not in the places that matter. 2 years of silence, and then 3 hard knocks on my door at 7 in the morning. That's when I found out what she'd really been planning. My name is Daniel Dixon, but everyone calls me Dan. I'm 60 years old, and for 32 of those years, I ran chemical processing equipment at the Hartwell Industrial Complex just outside Fort Worth, Texas. It was a solid union job, steady pay, the kind of work that let me raise a daughter and buy a house. I retired 18 months ago with a decent pension, thinking I'd finally earned some peace and quiet. 2 years after I divorced my unfaithful wife, the police showed up at my place out of nowhere. It was a Tuesday morning in February, 7:15 on the dot. I was standing in my kitchen in a t-shirt and jeans, coffee mug halfway to my lips, when I heard 3 sharp knocks on the front door. The kind of knocks that don't ask permission. They announce themselves. I opened the door and saw 2 detectives on my porch, county sheriff badges flashing in the weak winter light. Behind them, I caught Mrs. Patterson's curtain twitch across the way. On the opposite side of the street, old Henry Wilcox suddenly had a lot of interest in his mailbox. The first detective was a woman, mid-40s maybe, with eyes that looked like they'd stared down more liars than she could count. I'd later see her card, Detective Lisa Peake. "Mr. Dixon," she asked. "Daniel Raymond Dixon?" I nodded, feeling the February cold bite through my thin shirt. "We need to ask you about some loan applications submitted in your name over the past 18 months, Detective Peake said. Her voice was professional, flat. "Are you aware of those applications, sir?" My coffee had gone cold in my hand. I set the mug down on the little table by the door. "I haven't applied for any loans," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I live on my pension. What's this about?" The second detective, a younger guy named Torres, pulled out a notebook. "8 applications to various banks," he said. "Amounts ranging from $9,000 to $15,000. Your signature on everyone. That's approximately $48,000 total." My hands started to shake. I knew instantly. Sharon, my ex-wife. The same woman who had already taken half of everything I'd worked for in the divorce. "That's not possible," I said. "We've been divorced for 2 years. I haven't had any contact with her." Detective Peake's expression barely shifted, but there was something in her eyes, doubt maybe, or something worse. Like she'd heard this exact line from guilty men before. "Would you be willing to come down to the station?" she asked. "Tomorrow afternoon, say 2 p.m., answer some questions, help us clear this up?" I heard what she wasn't saying. They thought I might have done it, or at least they weren't convinced I hadn't. "Yeah," I said. "All right, tomorrow at 2. They thanked me, handed over a card, and walked back to their unmarked sedan. I stood in the doorway until they drove off, acutely aware of every set of eyes on me. Mrs. Patterson wasn't even pretending anymore. She was planted right at her window, phone already pressed to her ear. I closed the door and leaned my back against it. My rental house, small, drafty, but mine, suddenly felt like it was shrinking around me. The walls were so thin I could hear my other neighbor's TV through the drywall. Before I could push off the door, I heard footsteps on the porch. Frank Richardson, my neighbor from 2 houses down, didn't bother with a knock. He opened the screen door and stuck his head inside. "Dan, you okay?" Frank asked. He's 64, a retired state trooper with 30 years on the job, built like a fire hydrant, gray hair still cut military short. "Police say someone took out loans in my name," I said. My voice came out rougher than I meant. 8 of them, nearly 50 grand. Frank's jaw clenched. He stepped fully inside and shut the door behind him. "Sharon," he said. It wasn't a question. "Who else?" I answered. Frank had been my neighbor since I moved into this rental after the divorce. He'd seen me at my lowest, helped me haul in what little I had left, sat with me on nights when the silence got too heavy. "When's the last time you talked to her?" Frank asked. "The day the divorce was final, 24 months ago." I stared down at my hands. They were still shaking. "I thought it was over, Frank. I thought I was done with her." Frank glanced toward the front window, where Mrs. Patterson was still clearly watching. "Come on," he said. "Let's talk inside. No sense giving the whole neighborhood a show." Frank made fresh coffee while I spread my divorce papers across the kitchen table. The decree ran 8 pages of legal jargon that boiled down to one simple truth. Sharon got the house and $42,000 from the equity. I kept my pension and my truck. Everything else we'd built over 23 years was either split in half or sold off. Look at this, I said, pointing to page 6. All debts incurred by either party following the execution of this decree shall be the sole responsibility of the party incurring said debt. Frank leaned over my shoulder to read. He smelled like Old Spice and coffee. Should protect you, he said. But there's something else here. He tapped a note I'd scribbled in the margin. What's this about? I'd written, Sharon needs SSN for final tax return, given March 15th, 2023. Our last year of marriage, we filed jointly, I explained. About a week after I moved out, she called. Said she needed my social security number to finish the tax paperwork. I gave it to her without thinking twice. Dan, Frank said quietly, that's how she did it. My stomach flipped. 23 years of marriage, and I'd handed her everything she needed to ruin me, without a second thought. My phone buzzed. Emily, my daughter, was finally calling back. I'd left her 3 messages since the police had left. Dad, Emily said when I answered. Her voice was tight, controlled, the tone she used at work when she was dealing with difficult patients. She's a nurse at Harris Methodist, and that professional tone meant she was upset. Honey, I need to talk to you about something, I began. I already know, she cut in. Mom called me this morning. She told me what's happening. My chest tightened. What did she tell you? I asked. That you're in trouble with the police. That you're trying to pin your own loans on her? Emily's voice shook. She says you've been calling and threatening her. Dad, what is going on? I tightened my grip on the phone. Across the table, Frank watched me carefully, those old cop instincts reading every twitch in my face. Emily, listen to me, I said, forcing my voice to stay calm. I haven't called your mother. I haven't spoken to her since the divorce. She's lying. She was crying, Dad, really crying. Of course she was. Sharon could cry on cue. I'd seen her do it in stores to get discounts, with our marriage counselor, with the divorce mediator. Tears were her favorite weapon. I can prove I didn't take out those loans, I said. The police showed me forged signatures, bank statements with charges I never made. She's stealing my identity. Silence. For a second, I thought maybe I'd broken through. I can't do this right now, Emily said at last. I have to get to work. Don't call me about Mom anymore. Dad, please. I can't be in the middle of whatever is going on between you two. There's nothing going on between us, I tried to say, but she'd already hung up. I set the phone down carefully on the table. Frank poured himself more coffee, giving me space. She chose her mother, I said. She doesn't know the whole story yet, Frank replied. Give her time. I don't have time. I got up and started pacing my cramped kitchen. I have to go to the station tomorrow. They think I'm a criminal. My daughter thinks I'm harassing her mother. And I've got maybe $2,000 in the bank to fight this. Frank put his mug down. You need a lawyer. Can't afford one. You can't afford not to have one, Frank said. Who handled your divorce? Janet Reeves. Charged me $250 an hour to watch Sharon walk away with everything. Call her anyway, Frank said. See what she says. And Dan? He waited until I looked at him. Don't give up yet. Sharon screwed up going after you. She should have stayed gone. After Frank left, I sat alone in the kitchen, staring at my phone. Through the wall, my neighbor's TV blared some game show, the canned laughter sounding hollow and far away. Sharon had been engineering this for 2 years. 2 years of faking my signature, stealing my identity, wrecking my credit, and now she had Emily convinced I was the problem. I picked up my phone and called Janet Reeves. It was time to start fighting back. Detective Peake's office smelled like burnt coffee and frustration. I sat across from her desk at exactly 2 p.m., my folder of divorce documents resting on my knees. She'd kept me waiting 20 minutes, probably just to rattle me. Mr. Dixon, she said, sliding a stack of photocopied loan applications across the desk. Take a look at these. I picked up the first one. Personal loan, $11,000, submitted 16 months earlier to First Texas Bank. My name, my social security number, my work history at Hartwell Industrial. But the signature, while close, wasn't mine. The Dan Dixon had a loop I'd never used in my life. That's not my signature, I said. It's close enough to fool a bank, Detective Peake replied. Her tone stayed neutral, but I could hear the doubt underneath. And a notary. See the stamp? Notary named Rachel Perkins. Says she verified your identity, met you in person. I've never met anyone named Rachel Perkins. Peake leaned back, studying me. Help me understand something, Mr. Dixon. You're telling me you had no knowledge of $48,000 in loans taken out in your name over an 18-month period? That's exactly what I'm telling you. But your ex-wife would have access to your personal information? She asked. I gave her my social security number for our final tax return, I admitted. That's it. I never told her where I moved after the divorce. Peake pulled out another document, statements from one of the fake accounts. These charges, she said, restaurants in Dallas, shopping at Nordstrom, a lease payment for a Lexus, $470 a month. You drive a Lexus, Mr. Dixon? I drive a 2015 F-150, I said. Paid off 6 years ago. She tapped one line item that made my stomach drop. Premium spa package at the Grand Hotel, $2,000, ring any bells? No, because I never took that trip. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my calendar. Those dates, I was in San Antonio visiting my brother. He was recovering from surgery. I can prove it. Peake jotted something down, but her face didn't soften. Here's what concerns me, Mr. Dixon, she said. This could be a conspiracy. You and your ex-wife working together, then you claim fraud when the debt gets too high. My hands tightened on the arms of the chair. I understand how it looks, but I'm telling you the truth. I didn't know anything about this until you knocked on my door yesterday. Then you need to help me prove that, Peake said. Don't leave Fort Worth. We'll be in touch. Walking out of the sheriff's office, I felt like every eye was on me. The deputies at their desks, the people waiting on plastic chairs, even the receptionist who buzzed me through the door. To all of them, I looked like a criminal. I drove home in a fog, barely aware of the traffic lights or street signs. When I pulled into my driveway, I saw Frank sitting on his porch, waiting. He got up and crossed over to my yard. How'd it go? He asked. She thinks I'm lying, I said. Or at least she's not sure I'm not. Frank's jaw tensed. We need to get ahead of this. I made some calls today, used a few old contacts. He pulled a folded sheet of paper from his jacket pocket. Sharon's credit report. I know a guy who owed me a favor. I unfolded it and scanned the numbers. Sharon's credit score had fallen off a cliff after the divorce, 710 down to 520 in 6 months. Inquiry after inquiry, all denied. She couldn't get loans in her own name anymore, Frank said, so she started using yours. How did you get this? I asked. Better you don't know, Frank said. But look at the timing. It all started right when her own credit died. That's not a coincidence, Dan. That's desperation. For the first time since the police had come to my door, something inside me shifted. Not quite hope, but a sense that maybe, just maybe, I had a fighting chance. There's more, Frank said. I tracked down the notary who stamped those loan papers, Rachel Perkins. She works out of a UPS store on Henderson Street. I'm going to see her tomorrow, find out what she remembers. Frank, you don't have to do this. Yeah, I do, he said. Because if Sharon gets away with this, she'll just do it to someone else. And because you're my friend, and friends don't let friends get railroaded. The call came 3 days later, while I was on my back under the kitchen sink, wrestling with a leaky faucet. Local number I didn't recognize. Mr. Dixon, this is Steve Harmon with the Fort Worth Telegraph. I froze. A reporter, which meant this was about to spill into the public. I'm working on a story about financial fraud in Tarrant County, Harmon went on, his voice young and eager. Your name came up in some police reports. I was hoping to get your side of things. No comment, I said immediately. I understand you're under investigation for loan fraud. 8 applications, nearly $50,000. Your ex-wife has also filed a restraining order against you, claiming harassment. Any truth to that? My stomach dropped. What restraining order? Filed yesterday morning. She says you've been calling her, threatening her, showing up at her house. Claims she's afraid for her safety. I sat down hard on the kitchen floor, still gripping the wrench. I haven't contacted her, I said. Not once in 2 years. That's not what the court papers say, Mr. Dixon. She's provided phone records showing multiple calls from your number. Those are fake, I snapped. Someone spoofed my number, all right? Harmon's tone shifted, skeptical. Look, I'm running the story tomorrow, front page of the local section. If you want to make a statement, now's your chance. My statement is that I'm the victim here, not the criminal, I said. Sharon Dixon forged my signature on those loans. She's been stealing my identity for nearly 2 years. According to who? Harmon asked. According to the evidence, ask Detective Peake. I did, he said. She told me the investigation is ongoing and no charges have been filed. After I hung up, I stayed sitting on that kitchen floor. A restraining order. That meant Sharon was turning the dial up, building a story where I was the violent ex-husband and she was the terrified ex-wife just trying to stay safe. My phone rang again. Emily this time. Did you really file for a restraining order against Mom? She demanded, skipping any greeting. What? No, she filed one against me. That's not what she told me, Emily said. She says you're threatening her, that the police told her to protect herself. Emily, she's lying about everything. I don't know who to believe anymore, she said, her voice breaking. This is ripping me apart, Dad. Why can't you two just leave each other alone? I am leaving her alone. She's the one tearing my life apart. I have to go, Emily said. Please just stop. Whatever's happening between you two, please stop. She hung up before I could say another word. I called Frank. He was at my door within 5 minutes. The paper's running a story tomorrow, I told him. Front page. And Sharon filed a restraining order. Says I've been threatening her. Frank's face darkened. She's boxing you in, making it harder and harder for you to defend yourself. How am I supposed to fight someone who will lie about everything? I asked, with nothing but the truth. I talked to Rachel Perkins today, Frank said. The notary. She remembers Sharon. Says a woman matching her description paid her $200 cash to stamp documents without checking ID or anything. Will she testify to that? She's scared, Frank said. Doesn't want any trouble, but I got her to write a statement. He pulled out a handwritten page. It's not much, but it's something. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You're going to pay for what you did to me. I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of man you really are. I handed the phone to Frank. He snapped a photo with his own. That's from Sharon, I said. Save it, Frank replied. Save everything. She's getting sloppy, Dan. Angry people make mistakes. The letter from the Texas State Pension Office arrived on a Friday morning. Official seal, certified mail. I knew it was bad before I tore it open. Dear Mr. Dixon, due to an ongoing criminal investigation regarding your financial activities, we are temporarily suspending your monthly pension distributions pending resolution of the matter. This is standard procedure when fraud allegations are involved. My hands went numb. The pension was all I had, $1,600 a month that covered my rent, utilities, groceries, and blood pressure meds. Without it, I had maybe 3 weeks before I'd be out on the street. I called the pension office right away. After 3 transfers, I finally got someone who could actually talk. Mr. Dixon, I understand your frustration, the woman said, her voice smooth and professionally sympathetic. But when there's a police investigation involving potential fraud, we're required to protect the fund. It's policy. I'm the victim here, I said, struggling to keep my voice level. My ex-wife forged my signature. I didn't commit any fraud. Then I'm sure this will be resolved quickly and your benefits will be reinstated. How quickly? That depends on the investigation. Could be weeks, could be months. Months. I wasn't going to survive months. After I hung up, I just stared at the letter. Then my phone rang again, another number I didn't recognize. Mr. Dixon, this is Karen Phillips from First National Bank. I'm calling about your truck loan. You're 3 months past due on payments. What truck loan? My truck's paid off. According to our records, she said, you took out a $12,000 loan against your 2015 F-150 8 months ago. You've missed the last 3 payments. If we don't receive payment within 10 days, we'll begin repossession proceedings. My truck. The last thing I owned outright. Sharon had somehow taken out a title loan on it without me knowing. That's fraud, I said. I never signed for that loan. Sir, we have your signature on the application and the title. Compare that signature to the one on my driver's license, I said. It won't match. I'll make a note in your file, she replied. But until the legal issues are resolved, the loan is still in default. 10 days, Mr. Dixon. She hung up. I walked outside and looked at my truck sitting in the driveway. My dad had helped me buy it 6 years earlier, right before he died. We'd gone to the dealership together, haggled with the salesman, shaken hands on the deal. It was the last thing we ever did side by side. And now Sharon was taking that too. Frank found me an hour later, sitting on the front steps. You look like hell, he said. I told him about the pension, about the truck loan. She's trying to break you, Frank said. Financially, emotionally, every way she can. It's working, I muttered. No. Frank sat down beside me. It's not, because you're still standing. And I've got something that might help. Frank pulled out his phone and showed me a Facebook page. I found Sharon's boyfriend, he said. Brett Hoffman, city councilman, married, 2 kids, runs on family values. I studied the profile picture. Clean-cut guy in his 40s, American flag behind him, wife and kids smiling at his side. He's the one she left me for, I said. Yep. And he's got a lot to lose if this ever comes out. Frank scrolled through more photos. Look at this. Posted 3 weeks ago. Cabo San Lucas family vacation. About $3,200 worth of flights and resort. The same amount as one of the fraudulent loans, I said. She's using stolen money to pay for vacations with her boyfriend. And he's either helping her, Frank said, or he's incredibly stupid. Either way, he's leverage. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. How does it feel, Dan? Losing everything. That's what you did to me. Now you know how it feels. Sharon. She was watching me. Somehow she already knew about the pension and the truck. I showed Frank the text. Save it, he said. But more importantly, answer her. Keep her talking. Angry people confess. I typed, I never did anything to you. You're the one who left me, remember? Her reply came almost instantly. You ruined my life. 23 years wasted on a loser. I deserve better. I deserve what you took from me. What did I take from you? I wrote, everything. My youth, my dreams, my chance at happiness. You owe me, and I'm collecting. Frank read over my shoulder. There it is. She thinks she's entitled to destroy you. That's not the kind of message scared people send. That's someone who thinks she's justified. Another text came in. Brett treats me better in 1 day than you did in 23 years. He buys me things, takes me places, makes me feel valued. Is Brett helping you take out loans in my name? I typed. Long pause. You can't prove anything. Not a denial, Frank said. Almost an admission. Screenshot everything. If we're going to take her down, we'll need it. The call came at 2 a.m. I was awake anyway, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling and doing desperate math in my head. Rent due in 8 days. Truck payments due in 10. No pension money coming. Maybe $800 left in my checking account. I grabbed the phone on the first ring. Dad? Emily's voice, but wrong, shaky, scared. Em? What's wrong? I'm at the hospital, Harris Methodist. I need you to come. My heart stopped. Are you hurt? No, I'm working. But Dad, I need to talk to you. Please, can you come? 20 minutes later, I walked into the emergency room. Emily met me in the hallway outside the nurse's station. Her scrubs were stained with blood, her hair twisted back into a messy ponytail. She looked wiped out. What's going on? I asked. She pulled me into an empty consultation room and closed the door. I went to Mom's house tonight after my shift, Emily said. To return some dishes she lent me. The door was unlocked, so I just walked in. She paused, choosing her words carefully. Dad, she has your mail, piles of it. Bank statements, credit card offers, pension notices, all addressed to you, all opened. My knees felt weak. How much? Month's worth, maybe a year. She pulled out her phone. I took pictures before she caught me. Image after image flashed across the screen. My mail spread over Sharon's kitchen table, postmarks going back 18 months. She lost it when she saw me taking photos, Emily said. It started screaming that I was betraying her, that you'd turn me against her. She said things, Dad, horrible things about you, about us. What things? I asked quietly. Emily's eyes filled with tears. She said she deserved everything she took from you, that you owed her for wasting her best years. She said she'd been planning this since before the divorce, that she was going to bleed you dry and there was nothing you could do to stop it. I pulled Emily into a hug. She clung to me like she was drowning. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I should have believed you from the beginning. She's been lying to me this whole time. It's not your fault, I said. Yes, it is. I chose her over you. I let her turn me against you. Emily pulled back, wiping her eyes. But I'm choosing you now. I sent those photos to my email, to the cloud, to 3 different places. She can't erase them. Did she see you send them? I don't think so. But Dad, she's escalating. She knows I know now. I don't know what she'll do. Right on cue, my phone rang. Sharon. I put it on speaker so Emily could listen. You turned my daughter against me, Sharon hissed. You poisoned her mind. I'll destroy you for this, Dan. I swear to God, I'll take everything. You already did, I said evenly. But I'm taking it back. You can't prove anything. It's your word against mine. Actually, Emily said, stepping closer, it's your mail theft, your own words, and photographic evidence. I heard everything you said tonight, Mom, and I recorded it. Silence. Then Sharon's voice, ice cold. You're just like your father, weak, pathetic. I should have left years ago. You should have, Emily said. Would have saved us all a lot of pain. Sharon hung up. Emily and I stood there in the little consultation room, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, the sounds of the hospital muffled behind the door. What happens now? Emily asked. Now I call Frank, I said. And then we take all of this to Detective Peak. Your mom just made her first big mistake. Emily nodded. Good, because she needs to pay for what she's done. Outside, the March night was cold and clear, stars visible even through the city glow. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could inhale fully. I had my daughter back. I had evidence. The fight wasn't over, but now I had ammunition. Sharon wanted a war. She was about to get one. Frank knocked on my door at 6 a.m, holding 2 coffees and a folder bulging with papers. You're gonna want to see this, he said, walking past me into the kitchen. He spread the documents across my table like he was setting up a case board. I did some digging into Brett Hoffman, he said. City councilman, Mr. Family Values, champion of small business. Sharon's boyfriend, I said. Yeah, but here's the interesting part. Frank pulled out a printout of property records. 3 months ago, Hoffman bought a lake house in Granbury, paid $340,000 in cash, no mortgage. I looked at the date, smack in the middle of when the fraudulent loans were being taken out. Where does a city councilman get that kind of cash? I asked. Exactly. Frank slid more papers toward me. His salary's $65,000 a year. His wife doesn't work. 2 kids in private school, 2 car payments, a mortgage on their primary home. The math doesn't add up. You think he's in on it? I think Sharon's either paying him off or they're partners, Frank said. Either way, he's got a lot to lose if this surfaces. Married family values politician buying a lake house with stolen money. My phone buzzed. A text from Detective Peak asking me to come to the station at 10 a.m. Bring any new evidence. Frank and I got there early. Emily met us in the parking lot, still in her scrubs from the night shift. She looked wiped out, but there was steel in her eyes. Ready? I asked. More than ready, she said. Detective Peak's office looked exactly the same, but her expression didn't. Less skeptical this time, more focused. Mr. Dixon, she said, motioning to the chairs in front of her desk. You said you had new evidence. Emily stepped forward first. I'm Dan's daughter, Emily Dixon. I'm a nurse at Harris Methodist. She laid a stack of printed photos on the desk. My mail spread all over Sharon's kitchen table. 2 nights ago, I went to my mother's house and found these. Bank statements, pension notices, credit card offers, all opened, all addressed to my dad. My mother admitted she's been stealing his identity since before the divorce, Emily continued. She said he owed her, and she deserved everything she was taking. I recorded the conversation. She hit play on her phone. Sharon's voice came through clear and angry. I deserve what you took from me. You owe me, and I'm collecting. Brett treats me better in 1 day than you did in 23 years. Detective Peak's expression hardened as she listened. Frank spoke next. Detective, I have a signed statement from a notary. Rachel Perkins. She admits a woman matching Sharon Dixon's description paid her $200 cash to stamp documents without verifying ID. He slid the handwritten note across the desk. And this, he added, producing the property record printouts. Brett Hoffman, Sharon's boyfriend, bought a lake house for $340,000 cash while these fraudulent loans were in process. His legal income doesn't support that kind of purchase. Peake studied everything in silence for a long moment, then looked up at me. Mr. Dixon, I owe you an apology, she said. When this file first landed on my desk, She hesitated. I thought you might be involved. I've seen a lot of cases where ex-spouses team up, then turn on each other when things go bad. You thought I was guilty, I said. I thought you might be, she corrected. I was wrong. She stood. I'm going to bring your ex-wife in for questioning, she said, and I'll be speaking with Mr. Hoffman. If he's been benefiting from stolen funds, that makes him an accessory. What about my pension? I asked. And the truck loan? I'll contact the pension board today with my findings, she said. As for the truck, you'll need to file a formal identity theft report. Use this case number. She wrote it on a card and handed it to me. Once the bank sees there's an active criminal investigation, they should work with you. Walking out of the station, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. Emily slipped her arm through mine. We did it, Dad, she said. Not yet, I replied, but we're close. Frank drove us to a diner on Rosedale. Over pancakes and coffee, we mapped out our next steps. Mom's going to know we went to the police, Emily said. She's going to panic. Good, Frank said. Panicked people screw up. We just need to be ready when she does. My phone buzzed, text from Sharon. You're going to regret this, all of you. I passed the phone to Frank and Emily. Save it, Frank said. Add it to the evidence pile. Another text followed. Brett has lawyers, real lawyers. You'll never prove anything. She's scared, Emily said. She wouldn't be throwing threats around if she wasn't. A third text came in. Emily, honey, your father is manipulating you. He's sick. He needs help. Please call me. Emily's jaw clenched as she read the text. She typed slowly, every word measured. I saw the evidence with my own eyes. Mom, you're not the victim here. Stop pretending you are. No response after that. 3 days later, the eviction notice showed up, taped right to my front door. Official letterhead from the property management company. Failure to pay rent. You have 5 days to vacate the premises. I had paid rent. I knew I had. I pulled up my bank statement, and there it was. The check cleared 2 weeks earlier, same as always. I called the property management office. Mr. Dixon, according to our records, your February and March rent checks bounced, the woman said. We sent multiple notices to your address, but you didn't respond. I never got any notices, and those checks didn't bounce. I have proof they cleared. Let me pull up your file, she said. Silence. Typing. Oh, I see the issue. We've been sending notices to 2847 Mockingbird Lane. That's not your current address? No, I live at 1635 Oakmont Drive. Well, according to our system, you filed a change of address form 6 weeks ago. Your mailing address was updated to Mockingbird Lane. My stomach dropped. I never filed any change of address, I said. Well, someone did, she replied. We have the form in our system, with your signature. Sharon. She'd rerouted my mail so I wouldn't see the notices. She wanted me out on the street before I could fight back. I drove straight to the property office with my bank statements and my lease. It took 2 hours, 3 supervisors, and a lot of patience, but eventually they agreed to cancel the eviction. Someone had forged my signature on the address change form. We'll need to file a police report, the manager said. This is fraud. Already got one open, I said. Add it to the pile. That afternoon, Frank called. Turn on Channel 5 News, now. I flipped on the TV, local midday broadcast. There was Brett Hoffman standing on the steps of City Hall, flanked by his wife and a lawyer. These allegations are completely false, Hoffman was saying, reading from a prepared statement. I have never been involved in any fraudulent activity. My property purchases were made with legitimate funds from family investments. This is clearly a politically motivated attack by opponents who want to damage my reputation before the upcoming election. A reporter called out, Councilman Hoffman, what is your relationship with Sharon Dixon? Ms. Dixon is an acquaintance through real estate business, nothing more, he answered. Any suggestion otherwise is defamatory. Frank called me back. He's lying through his teeth. I know, I said. But here's the thing, Frank continued. He's rattled. He brought his wife, hired a lawyer, and called a press conference. That's not how innocent people act. That evening, my phone rang again. Local Fort Worth number I didn't recognize. Mr. Dixon, this is Pastor William Garrett from Grace Community Church, a calm voice said. I believe your ex-wife Sharon attends here. I'd never been big on church, but Sharon had started going regularly after the divorce. Part of her reinvention, poor, wronged ex-wife seeking comfort in God. Yes, I said cautiously. That's right. Mr. Dixon, I need to speak with you about something troubling, he said. Would you be willing to meet with me tomorrow morning, perhaps here at the church? What is this about? I asked. I'd prefer to discuss it in person, if you don't mind. It concerns Sharon and some financial irregularities involving church funds. My heart started pounding. What kind of irregularities? Tomorrow morning, Mr. Dixon, 9 o'clock. I'll explain everything then. He hung up before I could ask more. I called Frank immediately. The pastor from Sharon's church just called, I said. Wants to meet tomorrow. Something about financial irregularities and church money. Frank was quiet for a second. You think she stole from her church? At this point, I said, I don't know what she hasn't done. I'm going with you, Frank said. Whatever this is, you're not walking into it alone. That night, sleep didn't stand a chance. I lay there staring at the ceiling, replaying every stunt Sharon had pulled. The identity theft, forged signatures, stolen mail, manipulating Emily, wrecking my name, and now, maybe, stealing from a church. How had I been married to this woman for 23 years and not seen what she was capable of? Or maybe I had seen pieces of it and just looked away. Told myself everyone has flaws. That love means living with imperfections. My phone buzzed. Text from Emily. Can't sleep either. Keep thinking about who Mom really is. How did we miss it? I replied. We saw what she wanted us to see. It's not your fault. Still hurts, she wrote. I know. Love you, kiddo. Love you too, Dad. Around midnight, another text came in. Unknown number. You think you've won, but this is just the beginning. I'll destroy all of you. Sharon, new burner phone. I saved the text and dropped it into the evidence folder on my desk, the one that was starting to look like a brick of paper, then tried to sleep. Tomorrow, I'd find out what she'd done to the church. Tomorrow, more of the truth would come out, and Sharon's carefully crafted lies would keep cracking. Pastor Garrett's office smelled like old books and lemon polish. He looked to be in his 60s, gray hair, tired eyes that had seen too much of what people are capable of. Frank sat beside me as the pastor spread financial documents across his desk. 3 months ago, our church treasurer noticed something off in the building fund, Pastor Garrett began. Small amounts at first, 200 here, 300 there. We thought it was bookkeeping error. It wasn't. Sharon volunteers as our fundraising coordinator, he explained. She has access to donation records, donor information. We trusted her. He slid a ledger toward me. Over the last 18 months, approximately $47,000 has disappeared from various church accounts. The same amount as the fraudulent loans in my name. She was stealing from the church to cover the debt she created in my name, I said. We believe so, he replied. But there's more. He showed me another stack of documents. We found credit card applications for several of our elderly members, people who trusted Sharon to help with their finances, many of them widows or widowers. She had access to their personal information through our care ministry. My stomach twisted. How many? At least 4 that we know of, he said heavily. Maybe more. I brought her into this community. I vouched for her. And she used that trust to prey on vulnerable people. It's not your fault, I said. Isn't it? He asked quietly. I'm their pastor. I should have protected them. Frank stepped in. Pastor, have you called the police? Yesterday, Garrett said. Detective Peake is coming this afternoon to collect all our financial records. But I wanted to tell you first. 3 weeks ago, your ex-wife stood in my pulpit. I asked her to share her testimony, her journey of faith after the divorce. She talked about forgiveness, healing, moving forward. And the whole time, she was stealing from the people sitting in those pews. He looked at me, eyes full of regret. I believed her, Mr. Dixon, when she said you were unstable, that she was afraid of you, that you were harassing her. I believed every word. I even spoke against you from the pulpit, called you a troubled man who needed prayer and intervention. I'm sorry. You didn't know, I said. I should have. The signs were there. I just didn't want to see them. Outside the church, Frank rested a hand on my shoulder. 4 more victims, he said. Maybe more. She's finished, Dan. There's no walking away from this. That afternoon, Detective Peake called. We've arrested Brett Hoffman, she said. Conspiracy to commit fraud, accessory after the fact, money laundering. His political career is over. His marriage, too. He's looking at 5 to 10 years. He's agreed to testify against Sharon in exchange for a reduced sentence. Says she planned everything. He just provided money and political cover. He's probably downplaying his role, but we'll take what we can get." "What about Sharon?" I asked. "We're bringing her in tomorrow morning," Peake said. "Multiple counts of identity theft, fraud, embezzlement, elder abuse. She's looking at 20 to 25 years. Her attorney is already talking about a plea deal. 25 years. Sharon would be in her 80s when she got out, if she got out. There's one more thing," Peake added. "We found evidence she was planning to disappear. Fake passport, offshore account, plane tickets to Costa Rica. She was going to drain every asset she could, then vanish." "When?" I asked. "Next month," she said. "You exposed her just in time, Mr. Dixon." That evening, Emily came over with dinner, homemade lasagna, her grandmother's recipe. We sat in my little kitchen, and for the first time in months, the quiet felt peaceful instead of suffocating. "The hospital called," Emily said between bites. "Your pension's fully reinstated. They're sending back pay for the months you missed." "Good," I said. "I can finally pay you back for all those groceries." "You don't owe me anything, Dad?" "Yeah, I do," I said. "You stood by me when everyone else walked away, even when your own mother was lying to you." Emily set down her fork. "Dad, I need to ask you something. How did you stay married to her for 23 years? How did you not see what she really was?" I thought about it for a moment. "I saw pieces of it," I admitted. The lying, the manipulation, the way she could turn on the tears whenever she wanted something. But I told myself everyone has flaws, that love means accepting imperfections. And I didn't want to admit I'd made a mistake, that I'd spent all those years on someone who never truly loved me. "She did love you," Emily said softly, in her own broken way. "No," I said more firmly. "Love doesn't steal, love doesn't destroy. What Sharon felt for me wasn't love, it was possession. And I'm glad it's over." The trial lasted 3 weeks. Despite the mountain of evidence, Sharon pled not guilty. Her lawyer tried to paint her as a victim of mental illness, of an abusive marriage, of circumstances beyond her control. The jury didn't buy it. They heard from the church treasurer about the missing funds. They heard from 4 elderly victims who trusted Sharon with their personal information. They heard Emily's testimony about finding my stolen mail, about Sharon's confession. They listened to the recorded calls where Sharon admitted everything. And they heard from Brett Hoffman, who testified that Sharon had planned the entire scheme, manipulated him into helping, and used his political connections to slow down the investigation. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced Sharon to 18 years in federal prison. Brett got 5 for his part as an accessory. I sat in the courtroom and watched her face as they led her away in handcuffs. She glanced at me once, and for the first time in all the years I'd known her, I saw something I'd never seen in her eyes: fear. Not fear of prison, fear of losing control. Fear that her manipulation had finally failed, that everyone could now see who she really was. I felt nothing. No triumph, no rage, no grief. Just relief that it was finally over. 4 months later, I stood in my new place. Not a rental this time, a small condo I'd bought with money from a settlement against the banks that hadn't caught Sharon's fraud. 2 bedrooms, my own parking space, a view of the park. Frank helped me move in, just like he'd helped me move into the rental 2 years before. But this time felt different. This time felt like a beginning, not an ending. Emily showed up with lunch. She'd been promoted at the hospital, was dating someone new, and looked happier than I'd seen her in years. "Dad, I'm proud of you," she said as we sat on my new couch. "You could have given up. Most people would have, but you fought back." "Had good people helping me," I said, glancing at Frank. "You did the hard part," Frank replied. "I just pointed you in the right direction." My phone rang. Detective Peake. "Mr. Dixon, thought you'd want to know. We found 3 more victims, elderly members Sharon targeted through the church. We're reaching out to help them restore their identities." "Thank you for telling me," I said. "You're the one who deserves thanks," she replied. "If you hadn't fought back, Sharon would still be out there targeting vulnerable people. You saved lives, Mr. Dixon." After she hung up, I stepped out onto my balcony. The June sun was warm. In the park below, families walked dogs, kids played, people went about their ordinary lives. I thought about the man I'd been 2 years earlier, crushed by divorce, financially gutted, convinced I'd never bounce back. And I thought about the man I was now, stronger, wiser, surrounded by people who actually cared. Sharon had tried to destroy me. Instead, she'd forced me to see who I really was, and who my real family was. Emily joined me on the balcony and handed me a beer. "To new beginnings," she said, raising her bottle. "To surviving," I corrected, "and to the people who help us survive." We clinked bottles and drank. Below us, life went on. People fell in love and broke up. They made mistakes and recovered from them. They trusted the wrong people and learned how to trust the right ones. And somewhere in a federal prison, Sharon was learning that actions have consequences, that you can't ruin lives and walk away clean, that sooner or later, the truth shows up on your doorstep. I'd spent 23 years married to a woman who saw me as a mark. Now I had a daughter who loved me, a friend who'd stood by me when no one else would, and a life that finally, truly felt like mine. It wasn't the life I'd planned, but it was better than the one I'd lost.